All right, welcome in the ring. We're excited. It's going to be awesome. We're literally in a boxing ring.
So cool.
In a gym, which is so cool. And we're answering the questions that you submitted. And it's crazy. More people submitted more questions when they were anonymous than when they had to put their name on it, which...
It's not surprising at all.
Okay. All right. And so we're going to answer these questions as best as we can and as biblically as we can. So hang with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And you can clip these later.
There you go.
Especially for Sarah. Okay, question number one.
Okay.
Is it best to never leave an argument unresolved or to take time to cool down? Is it best to not leave it unresolved or to take some time? What do you think?
Well, I don't think that taking time to cool down necessarily means that you're leaving it unresolved. So if you need to take a step back so that you don't say something that you shouldn't say, you should absolutely do that. And maybe just communicate to your spouse, like, I need to take a step back for a second, or I'm going to say something I don't want to say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but you should always come back together and resolve it. You should not leave it unresolved. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a wisdom issue, right? Ephesians 4 talks about not letting the sun go down on your anger. So that might make you think we need to do this right now. But then James 1 talks about being slow to speak, slow to become angry. And so sometimes it does take some time to process, and wisdom knows the difference between the two. Okay, question number 2, how to deal with conflicts with the in-laws. Do you handle it or only the person whose family it is? In-laws. In-laws.
I think the other person should handle it, but also, like, you need to be putting your spouse above your parents.
Right.
So I think that's sometimes where the issue even comes in. If you're not doing that, if you didn't leave and cleave like you should have.
That's right. Leave and cleave.
Yeah.
And I think an important distinction in that as well is remembering that, like, when you get married, it's not Austin is joining Sarah's family or Sarah is joining Austin's family. It's Austin and Sarah are now making a new family. My wife is really verbally abrasive. What do I do about that? I know I can only control myself, but this just sucks. I would say that you have to confront it. I think that this has to be a point of confrontation. And so a lot of times, in lieu of confrontation, we will make sarcastic remarks that we think get across, or we will try to beat around the bush, or we'll be passive aggressive, and that doesn't work. You have to confront it head on, and you have to actually communicate what your issue is with them. And so I would encourage you to sit down and have a very serious conversation, because if it's not said, then it's not heard. And she may not even know that she's coming across that way. She may have been raised in a family where they're very candid and kind of mean. And some of that carried over into your relationship, and she doesn't even realize. So I would encourage you to sit down and have a real hard conversation about that. Would you add anything to that?
No, I totally agree with that. Just a kind conversation, not like yelling at her saying, why are you talking to me like this? But just a conversation of like, this is really hurting me, how you're talking to me. And it needs to be communicated. Yeah.
And clarity is kindness, right? So being clear that is an issue. Okay. Next, my husband spends most nights scrolling on his phone. How do I get him to spend time with our family without nagging? I know that you want to answer this one.
Another conversation,
Yeah.
I guess. It just comes down to communication and letting him know, like, why that's hurting you, why it's hurting your family. Like, maybe he's working all day and he's exhausted and he just wants to get down on his phone or whatever. Well, he's missing out on that time with his wife and his time with his kids. And so I think it's important to just communicate that and to let him know, like, how it's making you feel, how maybe it's making your kids feel. And just, communicate it. I don't know.
Yeah. I recently saw a video about specifically raising kids, in that you get 18 summers basically with your kids before they're out of the house. And honestly, from the statistics on this, it basically lets you know that you have spent 80% of the time that you're going to spend with your kids by the time they graduate high school. And for the rest of their life, 20% is what's remaining. And so it just puts a little more urgency, I think, on, hey, let's get off of these devices and let's spend time with our family as well. Okay, next. How soon is too soon to talk about marriage? Sarah?
Well, we started talking about it at like 6 weeks into knowing each other.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer to this, really. Obviously, like if you just met the guy or just met the girl, maybe don't start talking about marriage yet.
Yeah.
Let's get to know them, get to know their values, things like that. But I don't think there's really a right or wrong answer. Sometimes you just know. Sometimes you know. You know. That's what I say about Austin. We knew.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah. What do you say?
Yeah, I would also just kind of put a seatbelt on that and just say that if you don't even know their middle name, please don't talk about marriage. You know,
Yeah.
like if there's some stuff that you need to figure out about them as well. Okay. Next, how often should my wife and I have sex? What do you think? How often?
Probably more than you think you should. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Come on, somebody. That's
A
good.
lot.
No, that well, and also like, okay, let's put a seatbelt on that too
Okay.
and say, okay, let's share this story.
Okay.
So Tristan and Annie, before they got married, they were in some biblical counseling, and the counselor asked them their expectations on different things. And one of the things was sex. And he asked them anonymously, like, hey, how many times should you have sex every week? And Annie said like a normal person response. And then Tristan said 14 and like breakfast and dinner, I guess. And so like if you're crazy like that, then you should back down.
Yeah,
You should
maybe
not
turn
be
that down.
like, let's be a normal person. But also sex is created by God.
Mm-hmm.
Sex is good. Sex is made for a marriage in the context of marriage. I think we'll answer some questions about this later as well, but sex is not a bad thing. You
Right.
should enjoy sex and
with your spouse.
With your spouse. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's keep going. Do you have anything else to say on that?
Nope.
Okay. What does it mean to submit to your husband, allow him to lead? And what does it mean to love your wife as Christ loved the church? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is coming from Ephesians chapter 5,
Mm-hmm.
where Paul tells the church at Ephesus that Ephesians chapter 5, verse 21 actually sets the context here, okay? It sets the stage for everything that follows. And in Ephesians 5:21, Paul tells the church to submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. So why do we submit to one another as spouses? Well, we submit to one another out of reverence for Christ because that's what Christ did for us. Then Paul goes on to give application, and he says, okay, husbands, you are going to sacrifice and love your wife like Christ loved the church. And wives, you are going to submit and respect your husband. And in order to understand what that means, you have to understand the context of, okay, mutual submission. And you have to understand that headship, this is a different passage of scripture, but headship in a family for the man is not about authority over and being an authoritarian. It's about being a leader who sacrifices first.
Right.
Right. And then submission is not about like, oh no, what's he? It's not about that. It's about honor and respect to your husband. And Sarah, you like to talk about like this a little bit. Do you want to tell people what you think about this, like the submission and the...
Yeah, I mean, I think like you always are hearing about submit to your husband, submission, but the husband is called to love his wife as Christ loves the church, and Christ died for the church. So it's like, okay, the husband is really making a big sacrifice. He's sacrificing his life for his wife, for his family. So I think when your husband is truly living that, they're loving you, they're submitting also themselves, you know? And so they're literally dying for you. It shouldn't be, you're going to want to submit to him when he's also submitting and loving you. So It really is like a mutual thing. It's not, like you said, it's not like, oh, my husband controls me. He controls everything that I do. I submit to him. Like, you're not sitting at his feet, like worshiping him like he's God and you listen to every word that he says. It's not that type of submission.
Yeah.
It's really a mutual submission thing. Like, he's dying for you. He's sacrificing for you. You're submitting to him. He's leading the household. Yes. But, yeah.
Okay. Let's see. How do you balance having accountability in your marriage with Christian friends and also keeping your problems private when needed? One thing that Sarah and I have shared with couples in premarital counseling a lot is this idea that you're going to have arguments.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to fight. You're going to have disagreements. And if you have friends, which I hope you do, if you don't have friends, you should join a party, make some friends. Your tendency and your temptation is going to be, I want to go tell my best friend or my mom about all of the issues in our marriage. The problem is that you're going to go back to your husband or go back to your wife, and y'all are going to hash it out. You're going to forgive one another. You're going to say sorry, and your friend or your mom or your family, whoever you told about, they're not going to have the opportunity to forgive or say sorry and understand that y'all have reconciled. And all they're going to think about your spouse is that they are the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would just be very careful in going to other people.
Yeah.
About issues in your marriage outside of like, if you need to get some counseling, I think that's healthy and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely would not talk to your friends about most arguments you're probably having with your husband. Like you said, if there's something you need to get counseling about, like that's a whole different story. If there's an ongoing issue or there's some serious stuff going on in your marriage, then you need to reach out to, a counselor, not to your friend who's just going to bash your husband with you or bash your wife with you. That's a really big one. Someone told us that when we first got married, and we have really, we live that and we believe that.
Yeah. Because when you're in the ring, you don't want it to be me versus you.
Right.
You want it to be us versus the world. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. I know I shouldn't be living with my boyfriend, but it's the only way we can afford to live right now. What do I do about that? I want to obey God, but it just doesn't seem possible right now. Sarah?
You either find a way to move out or you get married. That's what I have to say about that. I mean, it's wrong, so you got to stop doing it. Whether that means, one of you has to move back in with mama, or you both have to move back in with your mamas. I mean, or you get married. If you're already living together, why would you move in together if you don't think you're going to get married? If you're already, living at that point, you already have a serious relationship. Like, I would think if you're going to move in together, you're thinking you're going to get married. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think also to add on to that is if you're living together, you're having sex, and you're having sex before marriage, outside of marriage, and sex outside. There's a reason that God instituted marriage as the container for sex. Mm-hmm. Is sex, I've heard it said this way before, sex is like a fire. Fire is awesome when it's within a fireplace.
Right.
It's awesome. It's great. It'll warm your house. It's awesome. But outside of a fireplace, it will burn your house down. Mm. And sex is very similar, where sex within the confines of a biblical marriage, one man, one woman for life, when sex is within those confines, it's beautiful, it's good, it's a gift from God. When it's done outside of that, it causes emotional strife. It can cause physical problems, there's all kinds of stuff, and there's a reason God is wise in offering us the right context in order to have sex. So Sarah, given the practical side there, is like get married. Okay, what advice would you give to a couple who was intimate before marriage but then felt convicted, like this other couple, and they decided to stop? How do you stay strong, rebuild boundaries, and walk in purity while you are engaged and already emotionally and physically close? Great question. Great question. I'll answer this one pretty quick. Is if you've already been sexually active and you're engaged, then in all likelihood, you know exactly what the triggers are for your relationship where you're going to want to take your clothes off and y'all are going to want to have sex. Okay. You already know those triggers. And so now that you know those things, you can avoid those things. Mm-hmm. And so I would encourage you, that you can't be out late at night in a car alone in a parking lot. Okay, well, don't go out late in a car alone in a parking lot. Okay. Right. If you know that you can't spend time over at their house late at night, whatever, then you're just going to have to make some lifestyle choices if this matters to you enough. And as Christians, I applaud you for saying this matters to you enough to do something about it. The other side of it, if you're engaged, Paul says that if you burn with lust for one another, that you should get married. And so Sarah said it in the last question, but there's a lot of truth to that. Yeah. Get married,
Well, especially if you're already engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Just
And
go ahead and get married.
the answer to all your sexual sin is not get married.
No.
Okay, that's not what
But if
we
you're
want to come
already
across.
engaged and you're already getting married,
Yeah.
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 But obviously still putting those boundaries in place. But
Yep.
there's
Absolutely.
nothing wrong with going ahead and getting married when you're already engaged. You don't have to plan a wedding for 2 years.
So Sarah and I, we met in October. We were engaged by April. We were married the next October before we had known each other for a year. And that is not what everyone should do. I'm not saying that, but it can be done. You can plan a wedding in 6 months. You don't have to wait 4 years while you're engaged to get married. That's actually kind of crazy. And I'm sure that your dad would be very happy for you to spend a little less money. Okay, here's a big one.
Fair.
How does having kids change your marriage? It hasn't changed our marriage at all.
Are you serious?
No. The way I've heard it said before, and I totally agree with this, is that when you get married to somebody, you marry the version 1 of them, and then you get version 2 years later. And you didn't know you were getting version 2. Yeah. Then you get version 3, 4, 5, and then kids come along, you get version 72, and you're married to 25 different people. They just all happen to have the same exact name. And that's just a reality. And when you make a covenant between one another and with God, you're also wrapping into that, hey, you know what? She's going to change. I'm going to change. Our likes and dislikes are going to change. Our bodies are going to change. The way we look is going to change. We're not always going to be young. My hairline is going to recede. My hair is going to get lighter from gray hair, all those things. And so you're married to different people, but that's like the overarching. Would you say anything specific about kids?
I think, especially when they're little, it might make time just like alone together a little bit more difficult, just because you are pouring so much energy into them. They're needing you a lot at that age. But I think just remembering also that it's just like a phase of your life, and just like enjoying it rather than being like, this sucks and I hate my spouse now, and we never get to spend time together, and just realizing this is a stage of your life. You guys are going to get through this if you both are committed to each other.
And making that time.
And making that time to have together, even if it means you got to stay up a little later so you can have some time together. Or
I watched my parents my whole life get up at 5:30 or 6 every morning and have coffee before me and my sister got up, because it was that important to them, and they were able to spend that time together. I think one other important thing with kids is the temptation for a lot of people, both husbands and wives, is to make the kids, when you have them, because they are so needy, to make them the priority in your marriage and the priority in your life. And the healthiest, best thing you can do for your kids is to prioritize your wife. Is to prioritize your husband. Because if you have a healthy marriage, you will have healthy kids. And the reverse of that is not true. We see it all the time where a couple, they prioritize the kids with travel ball and with dance and with school, and everything they do is centered around their kids, and their kids graduate and leave the house, and then they're left across the table from one another, and they don't even know each other anymore because they prioritized their kids. And ultimately, and a lot of times that leads to divorce. And so no matter how many kids you have.
And also, I think that's really important. Like you said, it makes, when you have a healthy marriage, you have healthy kids. And that's so true, because when your kids see you loving each other, that provides a security for the child. It provides peace for the child. But they see you guys, you hate each other and you're fighting all the time, and you blatantly don't like each other. That affects your kids a lot. So it's really important to put each other first. And I think that's really hard. I think that's harder for mothers.
Yeah, I'm trying to kick Sadie out of our room, bro. What are you talking about, Sarah?
Exactly.
Okay. All right, here's a good one. I want you to answer this one pretty quick. How do I know if the person I'm dating is a real Christian? If they don't live like a Christian, should I leave them? We are dating.
Yes, you should leave them. You should break up with them. If they're not living like a Christian, if they don't have the fruits of being saved, of the fruits of the Spirit, they're not a Christian. So especially here in the Bible Belt, everybody says they're a Christian. Everybody says they're a Christian. But do you have the fruits of the Spirit? Do you bear the fruits of what it means to know God? I mean, I think that, yes,
that's what Jesus said. You would know them by their fruit.
Yeah.
You would know them by the fruit. And on top of that, if you're dating, let's raise our standards, man. Let's
Right.
raise the bar. Why are we just looking for somebody who goes to church or somebody that just goes to church on Christmas and Easter?
Mhm.
Like, let's raise the bar. Does this person have a biblical world view? Do
Right.
they view the world the way that you view the world through the context of the cross? Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm talking about all things politically. Do they have a biblical world view? Emotionally, do they have a biblical world view? The
Yeah.
hot topic issues that happen across our nation and across our world and in our culture, do they view those things biblically, or do they view those ways with the winds and the waves of the cultural doctrine?
Right.
Which one do they view it? And that's a much more important question.
Yeah.
And I would totally agree. Break up with them right now because it will not get better.
Yeah.
It will not get better.
That's the great thing about if you're just dating.
Right.
You can break up with them.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Would you say anything else on that?
No, I think that was really good.
Okay. Why does it feel like spiritual warfare and conflict increase right before marriage or big commitments? How can couples protect their relationship from division, temptation, and constant arguments in this season? Great question. And just quickly, I would say that I think this happens a lot of times before big events or big commitments in our life, is the enemy knows that if he can get you at those linchpin moments, then he can knock off the future.
Right.
And his goal, according to Jesus, is the enemy's goal is to steal, kill, and destroy.
Yep.
And sometimes the easiest way to do that is when you are in the middle of a transition. It's kind of like if you're playing football, in the middle of someone making a transition, sometimes it's easier to tackle them because they're slowing down, they're trying to make a move. Whereas if they're running straight at you, you might get blown up, right? So the enemy wants to attack you when you're most vulnerable, and sometimes that's the case.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Here's a very good question. How do you handle a marriage that has lost sexual intimacy due to factors outside of either party's control? So health, work, things outside of your control.
I think one big thing would just to be especially on guard to protect your marriage, because you're going to be more vulnerable.
Yeah.
To give into temptation in other ways. And so if it's something out of your spouse's control, like you said, health or work or things that they can't control, there's a reason you absolutely cannot be intimate together, then you need to be protecting.
Yeah.
And just putting up guardrails to make sure that,
right,
you get through this season.
And hopefully that's a season. It's not like forever.
Yeah.
And I would also encourage you, like whether it's physical or emotional or in the workplace, is to start seeking the help that you need to resolve the issue, to actually get down to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And try to fix that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So next one is, can a relationship work out if two people have different religions but both prioritize their God?
I would say you shouldn't marry them if they believe in a different God than you. Because as a Christian, you believe Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. He is the only God, the only way. So if your boyfriend or your girlfriend is strong in their religion, but it's a different religion, you should break up.
Yeah, I mean, 2 Corinthians chapter 6 says that you should not be unequally yoked in the context of relationship. And so, I would totally agree with that. Simple answer there. Okay. What question should I ask on a first date?
I think it should just be normal on a first date.
Like, what's your name?
Yeah. Hopefully if you're going on a date with somebody, you have a little bit of context as to who they are. Hopefully even if your friend is setting you up on a blind date or something, hopefully they know your values, know what you believe, and are choosing someone for you who has those same kind of values. So I don't think the first date, you necessarily have to go like deep, all in on the like intense questions.
Right.
Just get to know each other.
Right. And then also kind of a tangent on this, but like, it's totally okay. A lot of Christians like over spiritualize relationships, and they're like, I got to make sure and, check their heart. And like, yeah, but do you think she's attractive? Like, do you think that, does he fit the mold of kind of like what you're looking for? And like, obviously physical attraction is not the most important thing, but brother, you can be with her the rest of your life probably. So you better hope and pray that the personality and all of that is there too. So don't over spiritualize everything as well. Okay. How do you suggest navigating your marriage with the understanding that the husband is the biblical leader in the household, but your wife is years farther in their spiritual walk than you are? Great question. And this is not uncommon either.
Yeah.
And I would go back to our answer from before, Ephesians chapter 5, verse 21, that we submit one to another out of reverence for Christ. And one way that we've talked about it at Heart and Soul for years now is creating a submission competition, a serving competition. How can I outserve them? How can I outlove them? And you want to continue to put your spouse ahead of you. So let's say that you're the husband in this situation and you're not as far spiritually as the wife is, or you're not as mature maybe as the wife is spiritually. I would encourage you, maybe the fastest way to become more spiritually mature is to serve somebody not named you. And so serve your spouse more. Love your spouse like Jesus even more.
Yeah, that's good.
Nothing to add on that?
I don't have anything to add to that.
Wow, incredible answer by Austin. Okay. For couples that are thinking about getting married and discussing what the future looks like with our finances, what does the Bible say about joining finances once you are married? Well, first, you should be joining Financial Peace University at Heart and Soul Church. Okay. That is number one. But also, you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I mean, when you get married, the two become one flesh. So I think that includes every part of your life, including your finances. So yeah.
Absolutely. The two become one flesh is a big deal. And to just magically not include your financial side of your life feels a little bit off.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. How do you prevent the roommate stage from happening? We have busy schedules, so it's often hard to make sure we put aside time for one another. So I would say on the roommate stage, that the schedule isn't always the issue. I think that we have a fear that if we schedule intimacy, if we schedule dates, it's not organic. It's not going to mean as much, but you can actually schedule these things that are very important that keep your relationship healthy. And that can be one of the best things to do.
Yeah,
if your schedule is getting in the way of your relationship, I would encourage you to schedule things.
Yeah.
So like even scheduling sex is not a bad thing.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. Scheduling a date night is not a bad thing. You should have probably a standing date night.
Yeah.
And that becomes increasingly more difficult when you have kids. Becomes more expensive because you have to get childcare. But it's funny, when you're dating, you in the dating phase of a relationship, you go out all the time. Then when you're engaged, sometimes you go out all the time. And then when you get married, it's like, I got my prize, I got my trophy, and now I don't have to do anything with it.
Yeah.
And I can sit on the couch and become a lazy bum, or vice versa. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. You have to fight for your relationship and continue to date.
Yeah, I think like your parents waking up to have coffee together every morning, I think that's a great example of that, of just like, where can we find the time together? We do have such a busy schedule. Well, if we just wake up an hour earlier together, we can have coffee together every morning where we can talk and just be together. So just finding time in your schedule to schedule time together.
Yeah, and if your schedule will not allow you to do that, then maybe you need to quit some stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe you shouldn't work quite as much and like make some sacrifices in other areas of your life, that like your kid doesn't have to go to every single sporting event. They don't have to be involved in every single thing at school. And if you want those kids to be healthy in the long run, a healthy marriage creates a healthy family, produces healthy kids.
Absolutely.
So that's another thing.
Yeah.
Okay. What does a godly marriage look like? Joining together to complete each other, staying by each other's side no matter what. What does a godly marriage look like? I would say, I would take it back to Matthew 6 and Jesus saying, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all of this will come together. And so I would honestly say a godly marriage looks like seeking the Lord before anything else. And it's kind of like a triangle where the man and the woman, if you're both seeking the Lord together, you will grow closer together as well. And that's definitely a big deal.
Yeah, that's good. I also just want to add to the second half of that question about completing each other, that marriage does not complete you, and another person in general does not complete you. That's not the point. So no to that. No, it does not mean that you complete each other. The Lord completes you. You are complete in the Lord. So just want to add that in there. But yeah, seeking the Lord together.
Okay, now we've got some rapid fire questions, okay? Rapid fire. So
Okay.
we're going to take 15 seconds or less to answer
Okay.
these. Here is the question. It has 3 question marks on this question. Okay, you ready, Sarah? So you're just
Okay.
going to joint bank accounts. Question.
100% yes. Yes.
Yeah. You're joining your whole
Yes.
life. Don't be afraid of joining your whole life.
Wait, I do have to add this in. I know this makes it longer,
Rapid
but
fire!
somebody was talking about this recently, how they get in arguments with their spouse because they have separate bank accounts, and they're always getting in these little arguments about where'd this money go, where'd this money go. And they even said, if we just had a joint bank account, this wouldn't be a problem.
That's true.
So I think it avoids a lot of little arguments too.
Yeah, come on, bro. Quit Venmoing your wife for utilities. What do we do?
Literally.
Okay. Can I still remain friends with someone I had an intimate relationship with after I've moved on and now I'm married?
I wouldn't do that. No, that's weird. Not a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea.
That's probably the most unwise thing you could ever do.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. If parents are not married but hope to be one day and are raising a child together, what is the best advice for modeling a strong, loving relationship for their child? So they're dating, they want to get married one day, they have a child together. How do you model a strong, loving relationship for their kiddo?
You get married. You're already planning to get married. You already have a child together. If you're already planning to get married, go ahead and get married.
Go ahead and get married.
Yeah.
Yep. What is your opinion on friends of the same sex that are not your partner?
I have friends that are men, but they're our friends.
Right. Yep.
I don't have like my own friends that are guys that I'm going and hanging out with.
Yes.
Or texting or talking to on the phone or anything like that. They're our friends that we hang out with together.
Right.
So
yeah. You're not like inviting them to go get K-Brew or go watch a game together.
Yeah, that's so dumb. Don't do that.
That's stupid. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. How do you reconcile differing sex drives in marriage? Okay, let me just say this. You're going to have different drives on everything in marriage. You're going to have different personality types. You're going to have different desires and wants and whatever. But sex is an important part of marriage. It is, it's good. God designed it. God made it. And so for some of you who are crazy, your sex drive is out of this world, like you need to back it down a little bit. And for some of you that don't want to have sex, it's the worst thing in the world to you, like you might need to increase that a little bit for the health and the betterment of your marriage.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, what do you do when you get married and your spouse decides to tell you that he doesn't believe in God after all? Tough. Very tough.
You get on your knees and you pray. I don't know.
That's right.
Yeah.
You pray for them. You love them anyway.
Yeah.
You don't give up on them. You believe God for them.
Yeah.
Our church has been talking about being for the one this year. You write them on that board. You pray that God is going to save them. We pray alongside you, and we believe that God can move mountains and change lives.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for all of the things coming up at Heart and Soul and all the incredible things that God is doing. We can't wait to see you at church.
Let's go.